Hey guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about Pathfinder 2 today. Show you around a bit on Archives of Nethys. I think a lot of people that play Pathfinder probably know about this site. It's a tool that has basically all of Paizo's stuff on it for free. So that's one thing I really like about Paizo is they just want people to play their games. So they have, I think all of their stuff is actually free on Archives of Nethys. But just to kind of give you a rundown, Pathfinder 2 is similar to D&D in a lot of ways. And the original Pathfinder was actually like D&D 3.5. Basically, when they gave up on D&D 3, Paizo picked up the license and kept running with it. And that's where you get Pathfinder from. Pathfinder 2 kind of really broke off and did their own thing. And some of the things that make it different that I really like is it's crunchier than D&D 5e. It's a little bit harder in some aspects. It still uses a D20. And one of the things that's really different about it is there's usually like 4 outcome states for every time you do a D20 test. So you have like the best is I think they call it triumph. It's basically when you crit a skill check, right? You get 10 or above on whatever the difficulty rating was supposed to be. And then there's just a normal success, you just pass the level. There's a fail state, which is, you don't meet whatever it is. And then there's like the really bad one, the critical fail state. You get 10 or below what you're supposed to get. And each of these different states for the die roll has a different outcome. And in the modules, a lot of the time, they'll be written out. You get better rewards, you get more detail on whatever dialogue you're supposed to have with this NPC, things like that, right? Also, forgive me, yeah, I'm wearing a blanket. It's pretty cold, but I'm a weirdo and I refuse to wear like a jacket indoors. And I don't know what's going on with my lighting. It seems like it's all shifting around, super weird colors and stuff. Probably because it's like middle of the day and just some light is coming through my window. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still getting this all figured out. But yeah, so you got the 4 fail states, right? You get way more options for like class build, class fantasy, races, all that in Pathfinder. Dude, that color shift is messing with my head. I'm really sorry, guys. Anyways, I'm going to take you over to the Archive of Nethys here, and I'm just going to kind of give you an example of this stuff I'm talking about. So this right here is just like the dwarf race, right? An Archive of Nethys, it has everything on it, so you can play completely from the website if you wanted to, which I love that. That's a great idea. Get more people into your game, right? So it gives you all the details on the dwarf, as you would think. I can't remember if you roll for hit points in Pathfinder because I haven't played it in a while. But I do know on the first level you just take whatever hit points it says for you here. Attribute boosts, you get a ton of attributes in Pathfinder. Where in D&D 5e, like a 20 or above on any sort of die roll is probably going to be a success. In Pathfinder, you can go beyond that by quite a bit because your stats keep going up. You keep getting better at skills as you go. So if you like big numbers and really like to feel like you're really getting good at something, Pathfinder is great at that. So these attribute boosts for the dwarf, that's a +2 to all of those. Another thing in Pathfinder is you don't roll for stats. You start with a baseline. I think it's 10s across the board for everything. And then you get 3 stat boosts from your, your lineage. This might actually be Pathfinder 1 here that we're looking at because I don't remember that Pathfinder 2nd actually has a flaw. Okay, no, this is Pathfinder 2. Okay, so you get a +2 to all these stats here. You get a free one, and then you get a lowered by 2 points to your charisma. So, and then the things you get for all dwarves: dark vision, and everybody knows how to fight with a clan dagger, which is basically like a parrying knife. It's a really good dagger. And then as you level up, the way Pathfinder works is, yes, you get your class, and you basically stick to that class forever. But there's these things called archetypes. You know what? I should not skip around so much. I should finish talking about ancestries first. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll get to the archetypes. Sorry about this. We'll get it dialed in, folks. So here, if you're looking at all these different things here, there's different dwarf heritages, so kind of like your sub-races that you get in D&D, right? So you pick one of these, and then you get the different abilities that go with it. And my computer's a little bit slow. I apologize for that, but it is what it is. So these are the different types of dwarf you can be. You can be an anvil dwarf, a death warden dwarf, an elemental heart dwarf, and they all get their cool little things that come with it. So elemental heart dwarf, once per day you can burst energy from your body doing d6 damage of the chosen type to all adjacent creatures. And at 3rd level and every 2 levels thereafter, the damage increases by 1d6. So you can just like have elements explode out of your body and hurt things around you just because you're a energy elemental heart dwarf, just for one example. And there is a ton of different abilities. So you can just go through and really combine and mix and match to your heart's content. And then they got these other, I think they're called lineages or something like that. But basically, you have your base race, your sub race, and then you can have this like, okay, well, my character is also an Aasimar. I'm a dwarven Aasimar, so I look like an angel. I'm touched by the celestial realms or whatever, right? Okay. And then on top of that, as you level up, every so often, you're going to get something called, I think it's an ancestry feat. And this makes you more of whatever you are. So in this case, since we're looking at dwarves, it's going to make you more dwarfy. You get things that, a stereotypical fantasy dwarf would get, or whatever these other sub-races would get. So here's just one, for example, and this is all from the source Guns and Gears. I don't know if you get all the data that you need to play with all of this stuff from Archives and Ethos. I know they give you a lot, so you might be able to still use these feats just as is off Archives and Ethos, but you might have to get the book for some things. No, it looks like you can just look at it right here and get everything you want off of it. So we'll click that. So after years of using black powder weapons in dimly lit spaces, you become accustomed to dazzling flashes of light and sudden shifts in illumination. You gain +1 circum sense bonus to saving throws against visual effects. So probably like illusory walls and things like that. Blindness spells maybe. If you roll a success on a saving throw against a visual effect, you get a critical success instead. Okay, so that's kind of a minor effect, but it's like a level 1 feat too, as you see. And it really helps like give you good flavor for whatever race you're playing. And there's all kinds of feats here. This list goes on forever, and this is just dwarf. There's stuff for elves or gnomes or whatever. And it's not just level 1 either. You get these through your entire adventuring career. So level 5, level 9, level 13, level 17. Yeah, you get to be and get more dwarfy through your entire adventuring career. I love that. Okay, now to go back to what I was talking about with the classes. I haven't been on Nethys in a little while, so please forgive me while I navigate around. It's probably in character creation. So you get your base classes, and there's a bunch of classes now. Forgive me as my potato loads, but here we go. So you get all these different classes, right? I know some are uncommon and some are rare, like this exemplar is basically a demigod. So things for like organized play, you have to earn a certain number of points through the organized play system before you can get uncommon and rare classes or races. And I think they do that just to keep it like kind of lore accurate. Like, yeah, there's not a lot of exemplars running around in the world. So if you're going to come play in our organized play, we want to keep it kind of true to that. And we're not going to have a full party of exemplars, just for example. But let's go ahead and show you one of these classes. Where's my boy the fighter at? Because I think that is a really good example for what I want to show you guys. So we'll hit the details. And it's only going to take 3 years to load, don't worry. Okay, so it tells you what their key terms are here in the archive. Kind of how to role play them in different scenarios. I mean, it's a fighter. Come on, guys. You know how to play a fighter. Tells you what their saving throws are. Oh, that's the other thing. In D&D, you're either proficient in a saving throw or you're not. In Pathfinder, you have a couple different levels of saving throws. I think it's like trained is the most basic, and then you have expert and master. Same thing goes with weapons and armor too. So you can actually get better at wearing weapons and armor. And I think the fighter is the only one that starts expert in weapons. Yeah, if you look at attacks, expert in simple, martial, trained in advanced weapons. So there are weapons in Pathfinder that are just extra cool than the others, and fighters are the only one that start trained in those from what I can see here. They're also trained in armor, and then like the paladin is like the reverse of the fighter. The fighter is like your offense powerhouse. They get all the weapons, and they're really well trained with them. They also get armor, and they're trained with that. But the paladin gets all the armor, and they are, I think, experts starting off. But here you can see your class progression and everything. So, okay, you get your ancestry, your background, your attribute boosts. Oh, yeah, and your background also has attribute boosts in it, and it gives you additional skills. So the background is actually very important in Pathfinder. I mean, it's somewhat important in D&D as well. It's more important in the 2024 version now that you get feats with it and whatnot. But yeah, and you get some of your like initial feats here, like reactive strike. So that's something about a Pathfinder that I enjoy is not all monsters have opportunity attacks. Because in Pathfinder, they wanted you to be able to move around the battlefield and position yourself how you want to better. There's also a 3-action economy in Pathfinder. So if you're like a high-level fighter, you have a really high-to-hit bonus, you could use all 3 actions to attack if you really want to, but you get successively worse as you keep attacking. So your first attack, you're going to be attacking at full juice, right? Like, so let's say you have a +10. And then you want to attack again. That's going to be a -5, maybe even more, depending on what penalties you have stacked up. And then your third attack, if you choose to attack again, it's going to be like a -15, or basically you're not going to hit. But you have 3 actions to do whatever you want. That's like raise your shield to make you harder to hit, to attack, to move around on the battlefield, switch weapons. I know there's a lot of people that kind of min-max the game, and they're like, oh, you have to do these exact actions, or you're just like not playing appropriately. Forget that. No, the 3-action economy is really good, and it makes it for much more interesting and tactical feeling battles. And for classes like casters, they also get good use out of the 3-action economy, because a lot of spells will take 2 actions to cast. Some are 1 action, but the thing is, depending on how much time you spend, how many actions you spend on your spell, you get different effects for it. So that's really good. I know I played Pathfinder 2 probably till about level 8 or 9 or so, and I had an absolute blast with it. And I know the lower level heals, you know, you start out and I think it's a touch, right? But as you spend more actions on it, you can do like an AoE of healing and stuff like that. So yeah, a really cool stuff. So here's all your different your class level progression, all your different feats, skill feats. That's another thing too. Your skills as you go along, they get better as well. It's not just a d20 roll, but there's different skill feats that allow you to do different things. Like if you have intimidation, at the start of the battle, you can do like a battle cry and you can try to intimidate the opposing force. Or if you have medicine, you can do battlefield medicine and patch people up. Or if you're like a quack doctor, you can like gamble on your surgery and like maybe what I do is going to hurt you more, or if I do it correctly, I really patch you up a lot, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of character expression just within the skill and feat choices, which I love. I think it is so good. Ignore that, as I've been doing for years. Because every time I update, everything just goes to crap, and I can't use my computer. So I'm not a very savvy computer person, as you may have been able to tell. Okay, so basically, you pick your class, you stick to your class the entire time, which is not a bad thing in this at all, because you can multi-class to a degree, and I'm going to show you how that works in Pathfinder 2. So there's this thing called archetypes, and I think you can pick the archetype feat as one of your class feats, and you can pick up all kinds of stuff, like acrobat, duelist. There's all kinds of stuff. Anything you can think of, really. They've put a ton of effort into their archetype system. Or for us older D&D heads, like in 3rd edition, you had your prestige classes, right? That's basically what archetypes are. So it's you specializing in a certain area. Let's pick something that I understand. A claw dancer sounds really cool, but I don't exactly know what it is. It sounds like a battle dancer for cat folk, if I just had to look at it real fast. But we'll go with, let's just do the acrobat, because I know what the acrobat is. You're an acrobat. Acrobat, first one. This is one of the first archetypes that came out. So a lot of times I don't know if it's still true to their game design to this day, but last time I played was like a year or two ago. Archetypes don't typically give you more damage. What they do is they give you more options to engage with the game in different and interesting ways, and they can deepen like your skill expression in certain areas or really delve into a class fantasy even more like focused than you were before. So the acrobat is your character. It doesn't matter what character class you are. Say you're a fighter, but you take acrobat. Now you're an acrobatic like sword dancer or something like that. Whatever class fantasy you can come up with that. But okay, so the first one that gets you into the archetype is always going to be the dedication feat. This is the dedication feat right here, and you usually get some like, I'll be honest, the feature you get just from the dedication are usually kind of lame. But there are some prerequisites to get into it. So to be an acrobat, you have to know how to do acrobatics. Not a big shocker there. So just getting acrobat, the dedication feat, will give you expert in acrobatics. So you just automatically get better. And then it improves as you level. At 7th level, you become a master acrobat. At 15th, you become legendary. Whenever you critically succeed at acrobatics checks to tumble through an enemy's space, you don't treat the enemy's space as difficult terrain. Okay, so that basically means for anybody that's not super into Pathfinder yet, you can like roll between the legs of an enemy to get away from them, or you can like backflip away from them, do all kinds of stuff so they don't stab you as you're trying to get away, or if you're trying to move through them, all kinds of stuff. You do an acrobatics to make sure you can do all those things. But as you're moving through enemies and weaving through the battlefield and whatnot, it's treated as difficult terrain, which basically means it costs you double the movement to get through their terrain or the spaces they occupy, because they're not necessarily just letting you go by, right? You have to be smooth about it, and yeah, that kind of thing. So contortionist. Okay, so after the dedication feat, as long as you make the prereqs for the other archetype feats, whenever you get access to I think it's a class feat, you can instead choose an archetype feat. So contortionist, you can squeeze out of tight situations by twisting and bending your body in unnatural positions, gaining advantage against foes trying to pin you down. You gain the quick squeeze skill feat. Okay, and then you just hover over that and see what it is. You can squeeze 5 feet per round, 10 feet on a critical success. If you're legendary in acrobatics, you squeeze at full speed. So, okay, this sounds really weird, but what it means is if you're squeezing, you can actually move through an area that's too small for your character, and usually you move incredibly slow when you do that. But with this, you can actually move pretty fast through an area that's too small for your character. So say you're like in a vent or something and trying to sneak into like a different, like a castle or something. I know castles don't necessarily have air vents. I don't think they do at all, actually. But just for an example, that's a TV trope you see all the time. You know, the spy is trying to get in through the air vent, that sort of thing. So that's what this is. Or you're trying to squeeze through a tight tunnel, whatever. So yeah, these are all the different feats you get just for your archetype. And a lot of the archetypes are going to be, like I said, just delving deeper into whatever class fantasy. But there are archetypes for the other, like, full classes as well. It's about as close as you can get to multi-classing. So if you're a fighter and you take the wizard archetype, you can get access to some spells. You're never going to be as good as a wizard because your focus is still fighting as a fighter. But getting some utility as a wizard, it can be very helpful. So there's that. So I love the class system. I love the action economy system. The races and the backgrounds, the systems are all very good. The itemization is really good too. Let's see if I can show you kind of what I'm talking about. Let's look at weapons. His weapons are cool. Okay, so there is a ton of weapons in Pathfinder 2. And you can see there's all kinds of, there's simple, there's martial, and there's advanced, and I think there's exotic too, or maybe advanced are exotic weapons. But they have all these different traits. Like in D&D 5e, you've got your masteries, and that basically gives your weapon another effect. Here, even just something as simple as punching somebody, there's all these different traits that you can utilize if you wish to do so. So agile, you can repeatedly punch somebody over and over, and it's going to be easier for you to do follow-up attacks. Finesse is you can use your dexterity instead of your strength. Non-lethal, so if you punch somebody, you don't have to kill them with your fist if you don't want to. And unarmed is, it's unarmed. It's your hand. You can't be disarmed of your hand unless somebody cuts it off. But in most games, your DM's not going to allow enemies to dismember you. Usually. And then there's things like critical masteries. I think that's what they're called. Let's see. Here we go. So this is a spear. Spears are deadly. On a critical hit, the weapon adds more damage to the die of the listed size. So if you critical somebody with a spear, you're going to get to add an additional die 6 to it on top of everything else. So I guess it's not a critical mastery so much as it's just something else that's added onto the weapon that I thought was cool. And there's all kinds of weapons. You can, like, especially if you're playing a martial character, oh my god, load 50. Load 273. I love it, dude. So as a martial character, you know, knights, paladins, barbarians, a lot of that fantasy comes from what your weapon is. And weapons really help just sell the fantasy in general. Not every single hero swings a sword. It gets boring after a while. You could have a guy with a bladed scarf. How cool is that? And it's coming from Tianjia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that is Pathfinder's like fantasy Asia, basically. So the bladed scarf is like a wuxia type weapon. If you've ever seen like old wuxia movies or kung fu movies, the bow staff, kind of same concept there. But yeah, okay. So not only are the weapons cool, the magic items are cool. You can get crystals for your weapons that make them do an additional die of damage. So as your casters, your wizards and such are getting better, more powerful spells, the marshals can keep up too, because they can get weapon crystals or runes or whatever they're called to help their damage keep growing as well. So I think the balance in Pathfinder is really, really good. And that's something that was hard to pull off in RPGs for quite a long time. But I feel like Pathfinder really nailed that. Let's just go back to the me camera now. There you go. Because I've basically talked about everything I wanted to talk about. The one thing I did want to point out about Pathfinder that makes it just really good is the monster design in it, for the most part, has been pretty great. They all have different and interesting abilities, and a lot of them can't opportunity attack you, so you can position and do things as you want. And then another thing I've noticed about Pathfinder is a lot of the written modules for are just like excellent. They're amazing. They're not afraid to get a little bit gritty. They're a little bit more challenging. You can legit die in some of them. Like the first module that came out for Pathfinder 2 is like man, I can't remember the name exactly. It's like Ashes of Ruin or something like that. I'm probably messing that name up. But it was legit hard. And it was like a dungeon crawl module. And just from the jump, stuff's hard. And you got to be careful. You got to be tactical. You got to use the 3-action economy to your best effect. So I really like that. I like a little bit more challenging games, a little bit more difficult games. D&D 5e, it doesn't feel like I have any skin in the game because I feel like I'm a superhero and I can do whatever I want. You're not going to be able to kill my character anyways. So it almost comes down to the point, it was like, why am I playing a game if I can never lose? Why don't we just play a narrative RPG where it's like, yeah, like we used to do when we were kids, right? Like, oh, I've got a force field. You can't hit me. And that's basically all that's left at that point. Anyways, yeah, I do love Pathfinder 2. I encourage you to check it out. You can get pretty much everything you need to play for free off of Archive of Nethys. I think Starfinder is on there too, which is... the first Starfinder is quite unique to Pathfinder and Pathfinder 2, I think. Starfinder 2 just recently came out, and they're using the same like core engine and everything as Pathfinder 2. So it's very similar, and a lot of the material is designed to be used with each other. So there's that. Pathfinder in space, kind of. But it still has its own very distinct vibe, so it's good. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for now. Yeah, talk to you guys later. Have a great day.